What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jesse. Thank you so much for checking out this video. This is going to be part 3 of the kite bag tour. Today we've got a little bit of a theme. We're going to be looking at 3 of my favorite vintage kites that are in my bag, one of which I just managed to get my hands on and I've been chasing for years, all by one manufacturer and one designer. Then we're going to look at one of my favorite freestyle kites that is just so much fun. And is very, very current. So, a bit of a spectrum today. Let's get right into it. Welcome to Skyrider Limited. Okay, so we're going to go in the order I managed to track these gems of yesteryear down. And this one I mentioned in my last kite bag tour video. This is the Flexifoil Matrix, designed by Andy Preston. Andy, well, I'm going to get a little off track here, but I know Andy's out there on social media and stuff. And Andy, if you happen to see this, thank you for designing some of my dream kites and your contribution to sport kites. One of the next kites I'll have here in this kite bag tour, I would argue is one of the kites that made trick kites. We'll talk about that in a minute, but for now, let's start with the Matrix. This is a full-size Pearson team kite. I managed to get this one from a gentleman in France. It was brand new, unflown, with its original Skyshark 5P frame sealed in cellophane. So this was a brand new kite made in the 90s that I got in 2021. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I fell in love with this kite watching the Robichaud brothers flying pairs. And boy, sometimes meeting your heroes actually works out really well. Some tweaks on this kite that we've made, or that I've made. It now has the 3-point bridle on it instead of the factory turbo bridle. Turbo bridle is very 90s, and it does big, graceful turns. With the 3-point bridle that got developed on it, it is razor sharp and even does a fair number of tricks. One of the most stable fades you'll ever see or do, and just so much fun to fly. This is exactly the colorway I wanted. There were 2 kind of colorways in this kite that I loved, this one and a monochrome. And when this came up, I had to have it. I didn't haggle. I didn't argue. I paid what the gentleman was asking and flew it here from France. And it continues to be a mainstay in my bag. A lot of the vintage things I've collected don't stay in my bag full time, but this kite 100% does. And if I just want to have a day of just flying and clearing my head, this is pretty high on my list of things I would probably choose. So let's move on from here, and we'll grab another large British kite. Okay, continuing on our theme of British kites, we're going to have another stop in the Flexifoil catalog, and another Andy Preston design with the Stranger. So this is another full-size. Tricky and bouncy. It's framed in XL pultruded carbon, so little different flying characteristic from wrap carbon, and a lot of fun to sort of use the bounce of the pultruded carbon to do some really, really cool stuff. So I mentioned in another video that growing up I always wanted to watch kite videos. There is a video that I would argue is one of the great trick videos, sort of showed the progression of the sport really well, called Tricky Flickery. And it features this kite and its baby brother that we're going to see in a second, and some of the sort of best flyers of the time in that video. And I recently discovered it is on YouTube, so go check that out. It is a time capsule, but it is so much fun. It is so cool. So the Stranger, another full size, another tricky kite. So much fun. I actually recently got my hands on an unflown one, a second one. I'm considering letting this one go, but I just flew it today, and I might be a little too attached to it to sell it, which is how you end up with a basement full of kites like I have. But just so much fun. Big axles, big fade, little kind of backspin, though it's not super stoked about it, but just big rotational tricks and all the cool old school stuff, and slide for days. The Stranger. So this little guy's had a hard life, and I just got my hands on it, and I have done my best to sort of clean it up and patch it up and get it all back to good shape. But you can see on camera, I think, just how well loved this kite is, and I'm not surprised. These are surprisingly rare. So this is Andy Preston's Psycho, also by Flexifoil, and it was one of the first real designed to be trick kites. I would say this and the Benson Boxatrix are probably the two that come to mind. As like somebody asked you, hey, what's the first specifically designed to do trick kites? Those come to mind. I'd have to look at dates. Maybe the jam session is in that same window. By HQ, designed by Dodd Gross. I don't know. I off the top of my head, but I wanted one of these. So when I started flying again this most recent time, there were 4 kites on my list of vintage things I wanted to find, with a couple of like, oh, those would be really cool, but they're going to be hard to find kites. And I didn't think this guy would be as hard to find as it was. The Matrix and Dot Matrix, the Stranger, and a Psycho, and the two that I'm still sort of hunting for are a Box of Tricks and a Matchbox, which is the baby version of a Box of Tricks, and I have a strong suspicion I will never actually see one of those. I haven't actually gotten to fly this kite yet. I just got it last week. Again, check out that YouTube video, Tricky Flickery, or it was originally on VHS, but lives on YouTube now. And you can see just how wild this little thing is. On a short set of lines, this thing is probably one of the best laugh riots in sport kites to ever be made. How I fell in love with these kites, though I never had them growing up. My dad had a stack of Flexifoils. The kite that the company is named for is also lovingly referred to as the Flying Mattresses. Has a single spreader across the leading edge, and it is a soft kite, so it inflates with air, and they bow up and they fly, and hence the name Flexifoil. So my dad had a stack of them. He had a progressive stack of 4s, 6s, 8s, and 10s. Then he had a 6-pack of 6s, and I really wanted to fly them like my dad did, but I was much lighter as a child, as most children are, and that 6-pack of 6-footers or the progressive stack would have dragged me away, and I would have gone off to the land of the Queen and Tea, where the kites were born. So he bought me, slowly over time, a stack of 4-footers. Initially, I had just the 2 from his graduate stack. Then he started adding kites to the stack, and by the end, I think there were 8 of them. And they all came with Flexifoil's little catalog rolled around the kite. And much like my bedtime videos, my bedtime reading was kite catalogs. Into the Wind, Revolution mailers, and the little catalog that came with Flexifoils. And I would see the Matrix and the Stranger and the Psycho and just sit there and go, I want that one and that one and that one. And how cool would these kites be? And we were competing, and we got to a point where we were doing pretty well, and we ended up with sponsors, and that sort of stopped some of the free choice in what kites we could fly. But it also meant we weren't buying kites at the same rate, so there wasn't a lot of kites to buy because, our sponsor would send us something interesting, or we would, buy something that they weren't interested in sending us, but we wanted out of their catalog, but it was always from the sponsors, whether it was through the years of Buena Vista, then HQ Buena Vista, then Level 1, then Cavalier du Ciel, and somewhere in there, we had an affiliation through Avia Sport Composites with Weldon Aero Labs, and we also had some Elliots that we tested, but never really fell in love with. So I didn't get to have these kites as a kid, and then I wasn't really thinking about it when I came back to fly for competition. I bought what I needed to compete, and that was it. And then when I came back this last time, I knew I was going to fly to have fun, and so it was time to sort of put together that childhood wish list. And I'm pretty close to filling it out, which is really, really exciting. So let's go get the last kite I'm going to show you today, and we will show something a little more modern. Okay, last kite for today's video is probably one of my favorite things I've ever flown. It is confusing at times. It is an utter wild child. It will do things that make you go, how did that happen? But one of the best things about it is, once you figure out what you did, you will do it again and again and again. It is a door opener. Meet the Canvas Kite Designs Crux. So it's big for a freestyle kite, and that might be part of why I love it. It is bouncy and fast and remarkably light pull, which means when the wind comes up, it doesn't really punish you for that. It has a couple of very interesting designed dead spots that once you sort of master using them, you can do some really wild stuff, and the wind speed doesn't matter. If you get in sync with it, there is pretty much nothing that this kite won't do. But if you get lazy or sloppy, I think the best way to explain this is John and Devin at Canvas refer to this kite as Bellatrix Lestrange on two lines. It will backstab you at a moment's notice if you're mean to it. But if you aren't and everything is good, boy, is it good. Framed in Sky Shark. It is got, I'd call it a fairly medium tail weight in it. It's reasonably pitch active, but also very, very good at rotational tricks. I love it. I love this thing. Unsurprisingly, in my custom red, I have the standard, and at some point we will get to see the UL as well, though spoiler alert, it'll look like this. These were the third and fourth kites I got from John and Devin. And boy, oh boy, did not disappoint, and really never does. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am Jesse, and please tune in next time. Gonna do another one of these, and we may look at some kites that we haven't seen yet, a manufacturer I haven't shown you yet. One of the cool current designers out there from Hungary, Mudgeon Kites. So tune in for that next time, and thanks for watching.